What's up, folks? Welcome in. I'm Jonathan Von Tobel, Jay Kornegay alongside. It is the Oddsmakers podcast presented by SuperBook Sport, although we should probably call it the Oddsmaker because this is, look, percentage-wise, I'm just going to say this because John likes to make jokes about certain people's availability, right? I've been here for I think this is a 13th, 14th episode, somewhere in that range. John's missed 2 or 3 already. So percentage-wise, Jay, I don't know if we can rely on John Murray.
Where is that slacker? What's he doing? What's his excuse?
I don't know. I heard something. You know what?
Tea time?
Maybe. That's what I'm saying. He actually might just be, for those who know the layout of our fair city, right through this wall, right over there. You never know. There's a golf course at the country club right here that I think John frequents. Regardless,
I'm going to text him and say you can have a free drop from there.
Actually tell him to send you a selfie with us in the background so we can see where he's at. How was week 18 for the Superbook? A fascinating week where I'll tell you my theories on it. We touched on it a little bit last week, but a lot of teams that had a lot to play for, a lot of teams that didn't have anything to play for. The results were what for you guys?
First of all, the volume is just tremendous. It was really fantastic. They were all up and at 'em early in the morning on Sunday, and the ticket count was just through the roof. I mean, everybody was involved. It's a really busy day for sports books. We got a lot of things that are finalizing, especially the contest, and we'll get into that just a little bit. But we had a number of contests that finalized on Sunday, so a very busy day, especially for those back there like Ray and Rosemary. You don't want to talk to them until maybe next weekend. They were swamped, posting all those types of results.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing is when books like yourself will immediately cash out results on some of those futures because you're like, all right, cool. I've been waiting all these time. The second these games are final, let's get these results in. Let's go, folks. So obviously, we thank them for all of their hard work back
then. Yeah. That's before commercial break, too. It was, the early games, we had, I don't know how many early games we had this past weekend, but, we're posting them as fast as we can. And, but overall, it was a pretty decent day for us. We were able to get the Lions in. That was basically a make or break game for us. We were up a little bit going into that game, and basically we were going to double it or give more than what we had in the nest back. So there was a lot of riding riding on that game. I think I said that right.
Yeah.
But that game was just gigantic. Even though we were really hoping for Seattle to lose because we wanted that to be a meaningful game since we had so much on the Packers, a lot of things going on, especially seasonal wagers as well.
So that ties into what my takeaway was from last week. So I kind of had a theme with all of the bets that I had made last week, and it was playing against or playing on. But these teams that had something to play for, right? Playing against them or playing on the teams that had nothing. Because I do think the betting market tends to really overvalue teams in this situation. Green Bay Packers are a good example. The Seahawks, who went to overtime, that I watched in this fair building, by the way, last weekend, against the Los Angeles Rams that had nothing to play for. So I always wanted to bring that up, mostly for our listeners, but also just to get your thoughts on it, because you tend to see the market really move in the direction of the teams that need something. But just because you have to win does not mean that you have to cover. And I think the market really freaks out about those things. And thus, as bettors, I believe there's value in going against those teams that actually have something to play for.
That's true because, especially late, you get a lot of public money that comes in late. And that's when we see almost week to week, that public money from the last 2 hours before kickoff really sides to those teams that are really needing to win. But, that line and those spreads that we post, we already know the scenario. So we'll bump it up just a little bit. It's just a tad. But then, once the public gets a hold of it, especially the last couple hours before kickoff, the lines can move a little bit and you can find some value there.
Odd question before we move on to next week, because you mentioned all the futures that get cashed out. Are those reported as part of January? So at the end of the month when we get all of the numbers from all the sports books, is everything reported there?
It's the day it's posted. Yeah, so everything, so it comes in January 1st. We didn't have anything Monday except for the championship game. It's a disaster. We all know that. But all those figures, those seasonal bets and everything are posted for and fall under January results.
You didn't like Georgia smashing TCU, huh?
I didn't mind it. I mean, I was kind of hoping for a better game.
Right?
I was watching basically the second half with my wife, and
I was only sweating out the total. Which, thank you, Georgia. Yes. I had under, and you took care of it on your own. So I appreciate that.
But that happened beginning of the fourth quarter, into the third. It was finally over, and then there was no drama except for the halftime. The halftime was Georgia -7. We had a lot of big bets on Georgia coming in, and then in game it just was kind of an avalanche. before game day, 70% of the tickets were all on TCU.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was on TCU. And then game day, especially the last couple hours, halftime and end game, it was all Georgia. But when the smoke all cleared, we showed a little profit, but not too much. Nothing to write home about.
Okay. All right. And that includes Georgia as a future prospect as well, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Like it. All right. We move on. Wildcard weekend is here in the National Football League, so we'll start at the top and work our way around as we usually do. We get all the games here, though. So we'll begin with the Seahawks on the road against the San Francisco 49ers. Right now, 49ers, 9.5 the number. I was going to go to 4 because that's a total, 42.5 here at the Superbook. This has been kind of an arduous journey. Not really. I say toggling between this 10.5, 9.5, 10 mark, but you guys are settling in at 9.5. Where do we think this ends up by the time we get to kickoff? Full 10, right?
I'm a little surprised. I mean, looking at Seattle's numbers, I mean, they've really been sketchy over the last 5 or 6 games. Yep. They just haven't really shown that much, and San Francisco continues to pull it off. I was really impressed by Purdy by coming back against the Raiders. The Raiders were just, that game right there showed me a lot. You got this rookie quarterback. We haven't seen really anybody like that won his first 5 starts since, you said Roethlisberger, I think, going back to 2004 or something like that. I mean, the guy's been very impressive, and he finally had a test on the road trying to come back from, a deficit, and he was able to pull that off against the Raiders. So that showed me a lot. The Seahawks, just especially the last few games, they're just getting by. A divisional rival. I don't like to lay points, on these playoff games, especially a divisional rival. But in this case, I mean, these two teams seem like they're going in a little opposite directions at this point.
Yep, 12 turnover-worthy plays for Geno Smith over his last 5 games, so that's not very good. If you're going to commit some turnover-worthy plays, those will likely turn into turnovers against the best defense in the National Football League, and their run defense stinks. So I think that's a really big deal. And much like Ben Roethlisberger, Brock Purdy not has to do that much. So let's pump the brakes on the Brock Purdy praise, okay?
You think?
He's good. He's been fine. But there's a lot of we're throwing out like Tom Brady's and whatnot. Like he's in one of the best offensive systems in the National Football League with the best defense in the league behind him. Let's look at it with some nuance is all I'm saying.
He's been doing this without any Debo too.
That's because Brandon Ayuk's a better receiver.
Come on. What?
Let's go. I'm in. Let's
better
go.
receiver?
Yes.
Really? I think
do it.
No.
You're right. He's devoid of talent. That offense stinks.
Well, Ayuk finally showed up in 2 years.
Finally showed up.
He's finally showed up in the last couple of games. That's right.
Have Debo weighing him down.
Okay. They would throw it to him more if he didn't drop so many passes.
That's not fair. In all seriousness, he also does have George Kittle. Kittle 7 touchdown receptions since Brock Purdy has taken over as starting quarterback. He does like Kittle a lot.
He does.
I would think that it would be, and the point spread would indicate that, but I think it would be outright shocking if the 49ers were not moving on here. So we'll see if that's going to be the case. And I would assume as well, closes a full 10. Let's go to the Chargers on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Can you make any sense of what Brandon Staley did last weekend with his starters? Because, as I mentioned, I was here watching this game, and every time in the second half, I would look up and see Justin Herbert with his helmet on and prepping and warming up to go back out into a game that meant absolutely nothing. I was amazed, and I was also amazed to watch Mike Williams get injured and carted off in that game too. They got a little beat up, and now you look at this, you're at a rest disadvantage against Jacksonville, which played the day before, so they get a full week to get ready. You do not. You get a day that is knocked off your preparation week. Right now, Superbook number is 2, though, in favor of the Los Angeles Chargers with a total of 47.5. It's moved in their direction.
Yeah, I don't know what Staley's doing. I feel like he's going against the grain. He's a guy that, at first he was, everybody's telling him they should do this, and then he does that, and everybody's telling him, yeah, you should probably rest your players. Oh, no, I'm going to play them. Nope. Especially a guy with, like, Mike Williams. I mean, that guy is always on the injury report, and we've seen that for the last couple of years. I don't even know why he was out there. It looks like he might play. I'm not sure if he's going to be 100%, but Williams is certainly one of those guys that always has that red cross, over his head. I wouldn't have had him out there. That was a bad break on the left. Was it left tackle or right tackle that they lost? But just a ridiculous thing to do when you have a meaningless game. I don't know. I think it's going to be pretty interesting as far as these two quarterbacks. I think it's going to be a really interesting game. I'm glad it's a little later, late start, prime time start on Saturday night. Get to watch these two quarterbacks. But I got to give the edge to Jacksonville. I mean, I think Peterson's just a better coach, especially in the playoffs.
Trey Pipkins, who you're talking about, the right tackle for the Los Angeles Chargers, at the very least, first practice of the week, he was a full participant. The only player who did not fully participate was Mike Williams. And to your point as well, given how beat up your wide receiver position has been all year long, you would assume that you'd be pretty, take it easy with these guys.
Well, especially these two guys that we're talking about. Right. I mean, you can throw Allen in there too. I mean, he's actually been pretty healthy the last quarter of this season, which I'm surprised, but he missed, 8 or 9 games or something like that prior. And we know that he's been on the injury report plenty of times over the last few years with Williams. So there's no way I would have had them out there. I think Allen scored one of the late touchdowns too. He was still in there. I couldn't believe it. So we'll see. But, coaching wise, Peterson has a lot of not a lot of playoff experience, but
got a good amount.
He has a few games under his belt. So I would have to give the edge to Jacksonville. I mean, Chargers got to travel 3,000 miles too on top of that.
This move here, is that just market? Like, hey, market's moving, we'll adjust this. Did you take anything on the Chargers? Because I am somewhat surprised that this is, 2 is not a key number of anything, but I'm just surprised the Chargers have gotten early action this week.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and this is for entertainment purposes only.
Got it.
61% of the tickets on the Chargers. All right. So it's looking like people are leaning that way, at least the general public, but we haven't had any sharp action on it whatsoever. We know the total went up a point or so.
It's a high total, but popular teaser leg. I would assume Jacksonville is getting that thing up to 8. So I know you love it when I mention the popular teaser legs.
Yes, I love teasers.
Getting through key numbers.
I love booking teasers.
Got to get through key numbers 3 and 7. You can do that there with the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, Miami and Buffalo. The news here: no Tua Tagovailoa. We know that is going to be the case. Miami Dolphins preparing as if it is going to be Skylar Thompson. This number has gone. By the way, Skylar Thompson, who John Murray knows who he is and where he played college football at. Buffalo now a 13-point favorite, total of 43.5. This opened up, in the range of about 11 for you guys, and now we're here near 2 touchdowns. I'm going to just assume, Jay, that with this news and everything, and once it becomes officially official, Buffalo would probably go off as a full 14-point favorite by the time we get to kickoff.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills, I was looking at the Bills and Bengals this week, and just, a lot of people talk about the Bengals and how well they played over the last month, but, if you look at the playoff games, they really have been outgained by most of those teams. On the other side of that, the Bills against playoff teams have really outgained. I think they've outgained every playoff team that they've faced. So, and those, I think those are keys to, stats to take a look at. But I think once this is finalized, it's going to go up a little bit more. You're looking at 14. I just can't see Skylar Thompson and company there. I just feel like the Dolphins got hit in the gut as a team. Mm-hmm. They know they just don't have a shot with Thompson back there. Not at this time in his career. Certainly last week didn't show anything that would change their minds. Yeah,
and Thompson, the other thing when you talk about quarterbacks like this, turnover-worthy plays, I am really interested to see where the total ends up. You guys here at the Superbook, your total right now is dropped to 43.5, but generally, if he's actually going to play poorly, could lead to some shorter fields for Buffalo if they're forcing turnovers and get this thing over the total. But right now, that's the other thing to note. Total 43.5 for Buffalo and Miami. Seems like a boring game. Pretty sure the Buffalo Bills will move on.
I think you're safe in saying that. Cool. I mean, again, another divisional rivalry kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, Dolphins really have a poor history, too, playing up there. I just don't see it. I don't know. I just feel like they as a team, they feel like they don't have a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, they'll never say that.
Right. It's got to feel disheartening to go to Buffalo with Skylar Thompson.
Well, and then the Bills, got this Hamlin thing going on, a lot of momentum there. Mm-hmm. They're very emotional. They're going to be very jacked up on Sunday.
All right, let's go to the other Sunday matchup. There's 3 of them. The middle sandwich spot, New York Giants taking on the Minnesota Vikings. This just sitting at 3, total of 48. Would assume that 3 is just going to be the number pretty much all week long until we get to kickoff, and that'll pretty much be where it closes. Maybe some alternate juice if you guys get hit one side or the other.
I don't know. Well, yeah, I think we can find a split line here and there. Yeah. That's going to be I'm looking at the ticket count again. It's really split right now. I do see a lot of people liking the Giants in this spot, and I can understand why. I mean, you look at these numbers, you look at the team stats on these 2 teams, and you're like, these are 2 playoff teams?
Yeah.
Because the stats don't show that at all. And so, I don't know. I mean, I kind of like the Vikings at home, but, I'm not sold I'm not sure that Daniel Jones can go in there, but they certainly did rest everybody. They certainly are focused on this game. I don't know. I think it's going to, I think the number is perfect, really. You're going to have variations of 3, probably this whole last 3 or 4 days here, but I don't think it's going to move off 3.
I do wonder when, if ever, the last time we had 2 playoff teams face one another, both with negative point differentials. The Giants, over the course of their entire season, got outscored by 6 points. The Vikings, despite being 13-4, have a point differential of -3.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's what I'm saying. You look at the team stats, and you're like, these are 2 playoff teams.
Yep.
Not only that, but what's the record for the Vikings?
9-7. 9-7-1. Oh, you're talking about these single score games?
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up. I think they're like 11. I think it might be 11 or 12. I know, something ridiculous.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. So no, it'll be interesting. I think the general public will probably lean towards the Vikings, but if it gets a little carried away and you start looking at let's say +3 even money or something like that, I think you're going to see some sharps, on the New York side.
Minnesota is 11-0 in 1-score games this season.
That's amazing.
Pretty incredible.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Well, it's also incredible because for those who don't know, they actually had terrible luck in 2021 in 1-score games. So it's like completely reversed here for the Minnesota Vikings. So maybe numbers, data, analytics.
Yes.
Everything finds its level.
Normalized.
Can I ask you this question? So Giants and Vikings, I think this is interesting too because when these two teams met, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago, Vikings actually closed as 4.5-point favorites. They end up going to overtime. They win by a field goal. Now they get the rematch of the postseason, and now there's 3-point favorites. So people always talk about, I always bring up market adjustments and how the market moves these numbers or how you're rating these teams differently. It is clear there has been an adjustment here because when they first met, the Vikings were considered 4.5 points better on their home field, and now they're only 3.
Right. And I think the Giants, actually the performance of the Giants over the last few weeks has been a little better than what we saw earlier. And I think they're healthy for the most part. So I think that that adjustment is right, and especially if you just go off of what the stats were and the final score, obviously, was in that first matchup. It looks like a field goal game.
Yep. We move on to Cincinnati, who's going to play host to the Baltimore Ravens. The Bengals, of course, because they get the win in the final week, don't have to worry about a coin flip or anything like that. They're going to host this game against the Baltimore Ravens. Current number at the Superbook, 7 -120. So if you want to lay 7 with Cincinnati, you're laying $1.20. And it's steadily heading in that direction. Opener was 6.5. Total down to 41.5. And the news here, of course, is Lamar Jackson, who allegedly faces, as one report put it, an uphill climb to start this game for the Baltimore Ravens. If there's no Lamar Jackson, this number gets to what? Because the steady climb indicates that he's not going to play. The question is just, where does it stop?
That is the question. And I'm not sure. It's going to be on the high side of 7. I mean, we're already... Have we seen 7.5 yet out there?
In the market, there's 7.5. Yes,
we've seen splits. Yep. I know that. On what market?
There you go. There. Here in Las Vegas, one shop. But also, they don't. They are known for not adjusting the juice, so they'll move to those numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, once we get to 7.5, what's the big deal? We might go to 8. I can see it going to 8. I know Cincinnati is going to get a lot of play, especially from the public. And as soon as they find out Lamar's not going, some of these people don't find out Lamar's not playing until game day.
Yep.
Right. And again, over the last couple hours, how much is this going to be pushed? The sharps are kind of pushing the total down. We see that they're on the total. They're going down. But I looked at this game and I was like, wow, the Bengals have been playing so well over this last month. But then you look at the stats, they're not as impressive when you start digging down into the stats. They've been outgained by, as I mentioned earlier, by the playoff teams that they have faced. Even though they've been winning these games, the playoff teams, it's been very, very close, and they've been outgained a bit. So that concerns me. But Huntley...
Right. If it is him.
I don't know. But, something like 8.5 would probably be tempting, if they can keep it close. Very familiar with one another. Ravens will play probably very hard in this game. It's just a matter if Huntley can, limit his mistakes.
Well, and you're also talking about, a divisional matchup, so you talk about familiarity. If Lamar Jackson is ruled out, that total will probably drop a little bit more. So you're talking about an increasing number for the favorite and yet a total dropping. It would be an indication that, looking at an underdog in a situation like that is generally the way to look.
Right. I guess
say generally.
Yeah, the sharps are looking at it and say, well, we don't think too much of their offense, but their defense might be able to keep it close.
Oh, since they've gotten Roquan Smith, who they just signed, the Baltimore Ravens, they've been incredible defensively.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
very much worth noting. And Joe Burrow hasn't had trouble against Baltimore, but they have made him look average. We'll put it that way. All right, last matchup of Wild Card Weekend, Dallas and Tampa Bay. They will face one another on Monday night. Superbook number 2.5, total of 45.5. Pretty much where you guys opened here. So I will ask you this question. Is this it? Is this the time, after Tom Brady and the Buccaneers finally started to look a little bit like the Bucs in the last week of the regular season, where they picked apart Carolina, started to get a little bit more explosive, and I should say second to last week, they played Atlanta in the last week of the regular season. Are the Buccaneers going to start to find some momentum here? Does the market start to believe in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now?
I don't know. That's a good question because you get the Tom Brady effect, and a lot of people, we've all seen it. It's hard to ignore the past and the capability of this guy. They've shown a little bit, but each time I watch the Buccaneers, they look old. They look slow. They can't run the ball at all. Mm-hmm. That's a problem in the playoffs. But the Cowboys look like a disaster. They look like they're about ready to fold up the tent, really. I don't know. I talked to a few out there, and they do talk about Tom Brady, and you just can't help but bring up the past and all his success. You just can't ignore that. They did look a little better over the last couple weeks, week and a half maybe. That's a really small sample. But the Cowboys are a disaster right now. They have, I don't know what's going on. I was thinking that they were one of the Super Bowl favorites, I don't know, 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. And now they're not really considered even a top 5 team at this point. And they've really fallen off. I mean, Dak just can't, 7, 8 games in a row with a pick? I mean, that's a problem. He has some heroics, right? And some close games, but just really costly turnovers. I expect Brady to play pretty decent. I don't think it's going to be the Brady of old, but a very close game. Again, I kind of like the points at home.
Yeah, Dak Prescott has thrown an interception. And he's thrown multiple interceptions in quite a few of these games. But he's thrown an interception in every game since week 12. Multiple turnover-worthy play games as well over that stretch. That is what has killed the Dallas Cowboys during this run. So, does it close, 2.5 ultra juice? Just toggles back and forth between some juice numbers, either 2.5 or 3?
Yeah, I think it's going to hover right around there. Yeah. I think that I think the public's going to probably be on Tampa Bay side. I mean, it's in recent memory. That's what they're going to do. I think they are. Looking at it right now for entertainment purposes, only 67% of the tickets on the Buccaneers.
Somebody at this table might have grabbed some plus money with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the money line. So.
Okay.
All because of, there's more anti-Dallas than pro-Tom Brady. Although I have a Super Bowl angle on this game as we talk about futures coming up in a couple minutes. All right. Until we get to that, though, a couple of things to update. First off, any big tickets that are worth noting? Any big plays that have come in on Wild Card Weekend so far?
These are all pretty sizable 5-figure wagers, and one of them, Buccaneers.
There we go. See?
Plus 3.5, though. Pretty sharp guy.
Huh?
Pretty sharp guy right there.
Told you I was in.
Uh-huh. Niners, 9.5. Seahawks, 10.5. There you go. Giants, plus 3. Those are the ones that we've seen so far. But pretty sizable 5 figures, and we expect more of those in the last 2 days.
Seahawks, 10.5? You guys were at 10.5, huh?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting. All right. You made me snap my head around because I thought, did they buy a half point? So, okay, you guys got 10.5.
We were at 10.5 for a short period of time, and
dare I say
up.
That was the number, or that was the bet that maybe knocked it off 10.5?
I don't know about that.
Okay, all right. I'm just asking. Got to ask these questions. That's what I'm here for.
Probably.
Okay, all right, cool. All right, so headline: Jay says,
you're right on it.
All right, Super Contest update. Well, it's all over.
Oh.
It is finished. It is in the books. Atlanta resident Ryan Legates, aka Ryan. You got to work on these contest numbers. SA247 LLC. Finishes 60, 29, and 1. That is 67%. Gets the first prize. Multiple in-season contests as well. How about that? That's pretty impressive in terms of raking home the cash. And over in the gold, Vokan, I hope I'm pronouncing your entry name correctly. Mm-hmm. Super Contest gold winner with a record of 57, 32, and 1. That's 64%. That is the winner take all. And this is a milestone in the Super Contest Gold, correct? History was made with this winner.
That is true. She is our first female winner of Super Contest Gold. We've had a female Super Contest winner, which was about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And now we have our first female gold winner, which, for those that don't know, that is a winner-take-all Super Contest $5,000 entry fee. So you got to have some kahunas to get in there.
Yes.
And, put up 5,000, but she collects 400,000. Not too bad. As far as Ryan, the Super Contest winner, to collect all those winnings from all the in-season contests, and we have 11 in-season contests. And this is what I was talking about with Rosemary and Ray in the back room. We had to post the gold, the reboot, of course, the Super Contest, but we also finalized on Sunday the final 3-week contest, the final 6-week contest, and the 9-week contest. So plenty of contests that were finishing up on Sunday, so it kept those guys busy.
I did not get an email from Superbook Sports about my winnings in the Super Contest this year.
Oh, did I hit send?
That's also just a reference because I know that you get an email for winning money because I won money last year. I just want to point it out, even though this year did not go that well. But end of the season did go well. And how about this? The odds makers, pretty good run here at the end. I went 4-1 in the final week of the Super Contest for absolutely nothing, just to get my record above 500. John Murray, though, kudos to John. Maybe this is why he's not here. He ends week 18 4-0-1 in another contest. Denver with the push. Finishes 56-30-1 on the season, and in 22nd place gets a nice $23K. I'm assuming $20 of which I get.
20?
Maybe, I don't know. I'm going to ask.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
I got 40.
Okay, there you go. No, and Jay closes out strong too, 4-1 in the RJ contests.
That was an impressive run by John. Especially down the.
Say for you.
4-1, I'll take it. I was trying to defend my crown. My crown was right there, and I tried to chase it there about 3/4 of the season, and it just didn't work out. I was falling behind a little bit, and I chased a little bit and tried to pick a couple that I knew some were favoring in front of me, and that just didn't turn out, and I fell farther behind, but that's all right. But John's run was pretty solid all season long. I got to tip my cap to him because he was on a roll the entire season and then finished really strong. What did you say? 22nd, 23rd? 22nd spot. Yeah. I don't know how many they had, but a few thousand.
That was 30, I think. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but
that's really impressive.
Should also point out, you got to take him down a peg a little bit. It might have been a mistake in the rundown because John did have Indy, so I believe he went 3-1-1 in the final week.
Did he?
Yeah. Just gonna throw that out.
Oh, you did have Indy because I remember him crying on a text.
I also saw him here, and he was not. Yeah, unacceptable. That one mistake is going to throw the whole show off. Should also mention my own mistake. That midnight run won the Super Contest reboot. I also got to mention that too. So you have the Super Contest reboot. That's a prize of $31,200, 32-13 for weeks 10 through 18. So got to make sure you hit that because the reboot's obviously a fantastic contest that you can get in next season once it comes back.
We had NFL season win contest too.
My colleague Wes Reynolds won that thing.
Yes, he did. Good for Wes. Yeah, well done. I don't. How many did he have right?
I want to say he had 21 or 22.
21 or 22 out of 32. Yep. In that contest is what we post a over/under season win total for every NFL team. Contestants select over/under for each one of those teams, and whoever clicks or picks the most winners is determine the winner. And Wes, congrats! I know Wes, good guy.
Was that how popular was that? In terms, you guys are doing those more, right? You started the NBA win total contest a couple years ago, MLB win total contest, now NFL.
Every year it goes up, JVT. Yeah. I mean, as far as more and more people finding out about it, so we try to get the word out, and every year it's increased as far as the number of entries. So people got to remember that because that is a popular contest.
All right, before we get out of here, Super Bowl odds, of course, to set the table as the playoffs are set here at the Superbook. Kansas City is the favorite to win the Super Bowl at 3-1. Buffalo at plus 350. San Francisco at plus 450. Again, these are Super Bowl odds, not conference odds. Philadelphia at 5-1. Cincinnati at 9-1. Cowboys 12. And then you get to the longer shots. 27.50 plus 27.50 for the Chargers. 30-1 on the Bucks. 40-1 on the Vikings, as are the Jacksonville Jaguars. Ravens at 50. Giants at 60. Dolphins at 80, as are the Seattle Seahawks. Any liability that has stuck out on these playoff teams that'll get you if they ultimately make it to the promised land?
None of the top contenders.
Because liability generally builds up in the long shots, right? I think people are surprised to hear that, but it's the people who are taking some of these mid-range and long shots. If they get to the table, then that's where it builds up.
Over the course of the season, before the season, of course, we had those Buccaneer bets that came in. Almost every operator took some of those. I'm trying to think when that happened. Was that April?
And what number were those at?
I don't even remember.
I mean, because it was around this 30-1, though, right? It's not like they have like a massive edge in terms of the number that they have.
But, giving out 30-1 or 40-1, somewhere right around there, maybe it was even 50. But, giving those odds out, your liability accumulates pretty quickly. So Buccaneers, we have some liability on. And then during the course of the season, we're taking bets on the Chargers and Seahawks. Those were two popular teams. And not only the general public, but we took some sharp money on those Chargers and Seahawks. So, obviously it sounds like we're in a pretty good spot. We're looking at the top contenders. I don't see anybody outside the top 5, but you never know. We've seen plenty of upsets in the past. I mean, I was looking at Cincinnati at 9-1, but then I looked at those stats and they were just outgained by those playoff teams. And I'm not sure. They have to win at Buffalo and at Kansas City just to get to the Super Bowl. But I did like the way they kind of finished out the season, but against some poor competition.
Got him at 15-1. Let's ride.
Really?
I'm in. Let's go.
Let's ride.
Yes.
Thanks.
I will say I did add, and this is where I tie this back to what we were talking about earlier. The potential path of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is not the worst thing in the world. I may or may not have added a 30-1 on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win the Super Bowl as well. Because realistically, what's going to be annoying about it, it's Dallas, who I think we can agree is kind of flawed, right?
Yep.
A potential game in Philadelphia against, by the quotes coming out of that Week 18 matchup were not good. Jalen Hurts is still injured, according to every single one of his teammates, and they didn't look fantastic. And it's a somewhat weak defensive front that I think they can have some success against. Not the worst matchup of the world. You run into a speed bump if it's more than likely San Francisco in the NFC Championship game. But would you be honestly shocked if Tom Brady won 2 playoff games and then made it to a title game in the NFC against San Francisco?
Well, looking at that path, I mean, I can see them beating the Cowboys. And I know, I agree. I don't know if they were kind of holding Hurts back. All they needed to do is win that game. And that's basically what they did. But I didn't hear that. Is that what his teammates were saying?
Oh, yeah. They were talking about him being in pain throughout the entire game.
No kidding.
Yeah. I mean, they if you read, again, they're not going to come out and say it. If you read some of the quotes and then read between the lines, I think it was pretty clear that they really wanted Gardner Minshew to just win one of those 2 starts so that they did not have to bring Jalen Hurts back for this game.
Well, that makes sense. But I don't know. I keep thinking that the Bucs are going to turn around and go, wow, they're they look like a playoff team. But even though they won their last 2 games, I just don't see it. They have no running game and they're just so slow. Man, too slow. I just don't see it. I don't see anybody outside the top 2. I mean, Hurts, if he's 80% or 70% or something like that, that's a big problem in Philly. So then you're talking about Purdy. Right? Yeah.
You're buying in? I'm telling you. Superbook Sports, just hear me out here. If it's a Bengals-Buccaneers Super Bowl, I'd like to go. Just going to throw that out there, okay?
Okay. Where is the Super Bowl this year?
Arizona.
Nice.
Yeah, right? Awesome.
Right down the road.
That's right. Hey, by the way, not right down the road, but it might be down the road from you. I hear there's a Superbook event in Cincinnati coming up. Is that true? Huh?
Yeah, that's right. We're having our grand opening. Yep, right out, actually in the heart of Cincinnati. It's Taft's Ale House. We're partners with Taft's and FC of Cincinnati as well. Mm-hmm. And we're having our grand opening in Cincinnati, local time between 11 and 1. There, so I'm heading out there tomorrow. Hopefully, I don't have any delays or cancellations. Speaking of the Super Bowl, we're going to have some presence down there as well. We're operating in Arizona, so we'll be down there as well. So a lot of Superbook events. We're in 7 states now, JVT.
Wow,
7.
Look at that. It's more than I'm in. I'm only in 1. Or whatever household likes to, bring it in, because Superbook Sports, of course, has a lot of podcasts for you, including the Oddsmakers presented by Superbook Sports. So make sure, you like, rate, review, subscribe, and out and about, Superbook at the Westgate Las Vegas, which we record here, Lodge Casino, Blackhawk, Colorado, every single weekend, every single day. Go out there, watch the games, bet on every single sport you like. And, of course, on social at Superbook Sports, superbook.com, and all sorts of different states. The 7 states that Jay mentioned all have a Twitter handle, so you can go check them out up on Twitter. Till then, we'll be back next week here on the Oddsmakers. See ya.